Hey guys, welcome back to Honey in the Rock. I'm Sophie, and to continue on with the series that I started last week, it's just going to be a short little series of sharing some things that the Lord has been teaching me. And this next one I'm really excited about. I'm excited for a few reasons because um, I was learning it my spring semester of my freshman year at Furman, and there was just a lot of growth there, and I grew in a lot of really sweet friendships. And so I got to talk about this with some girls that were older than me, and that was just a really sweet thing. And then I got to walk in this past summer as a camp counselor. And I just got to have about 30 campers every single week. And they were, most weeks I had middle schoolers, and some weeks I had ninth and 10th graders. But it was just one of the coolest opportunities that the Lord has ever given me. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. A lot of my episodes in the fall were with some of my camp counselor staff members. But this episode, I'm going to get to talk about camp a little bit, which is always fun and special to do. But this overarching theme that I started learning last year was in my weakness, he's made known. And so often in life, I want to perform and be perfect and have it all together. And that's how I want people to see me. And if I don't have it all together or if I don't have it perfect, I'm gonna pretend like I do. I'm gonna fake it till I make it. I'm gonna, try to pull myself up. I don't want to ask for help. And I enjoy coming across as having it together or being strong. And the Lord just quickly taught me that that was not going to be something I was able to do this summer. I was going to be tired, exhausted. I was going to be broken. I was going to be weak. I was going to be physically tired and emotionally and mentally and spiritually. I was just going to be drained. And so God graciously started teaching me this lesson before I got there, so I felt a little more prepared for it. But Second Corinthians 12:9 came up. It was something that I heard for a long time, but it wasn't something I was able to dive into really until last spring. And it says, "My grace is sufficient for you. My power works best in weakness. So now that I am glad to boast about my weakness, so that the power of Christ can work through me." And then verse 10 goes on to say, "That is why I take pleasure in weakness, in insult, hardship, persecution, and troubles, that I suffer for Christ. For when I am weak, then I am strong." And all of a sudden, my perspective shifted, or my eyes were open to this idea that I didn't actually have to have it all together, or I didn't need to pretend like I was better than I actually was. I could actually boast in my weakness because my weakness points to the strength of my Savior. And in Philippians 4:13, it's, "I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength." That's not because I figured out how to do something. It's like the Lord is going to equip you and provide you for the strength and everything that you need to do His will. And it just became this beautiful truth that I got to cling to, that I could actually stay weak, that it was okay for me to admit that I was tired or broken, because then Jesus showed up as he always does and provided. There was days at camp, and it would, be 7 o'clock and my alarm clock was going off and I needed to get to my staff meeting on time, and I was tired and I had no voice and I probably had COVID, and I just felt sick and I was tired, and I had such a tricky group. And um, they were really sweet kids, but there was lots of broken stories. And so it was a heavy week, and it was probably a Thursday. And I was like, I do not know how I'm going to get these middle school boys excited about playing these rec games. And then I don't know how I'm going to get these girls to stop talking during Bible study. And the Lord just showed up, and I had just a few minutes to be in his word, and he filled my cup. And throughout all of those conversations that day, he just so clearly spoke, and I got to rest in my weakness, um, because my eyes were set on Jesus, who is my strength, and he becomes my strength. And so that was just a really beautiful thing. And even now after camp, there's still days where I feel weak and tired, There's still days where I have to admit that I don't have it all together or that I need help, and I can rest in the fact that my weakness actually points to Jesus, and he's made known in that, and what a gift that is. It also talks about Paul's thorn in his flesh a couple verses above this verse 9. And um, I think I do have thorns in my flesh that keep me dependent on Jesus. And Paul asked the Lord to take them away, but he didn't. And it kept Paul humble, and it kept Paul desperate for Jesus. And I think often the Lord does the same things for us. There is things this summer that I thought I needed so desperately, in this physical comfort or emotional comfort that I thought I needed, and the Lord didn't provide that in that way, but then he showed up and realized I got to learn that he was providing all that I needed in him. Um, and so that was just a really sweet thing that the Lord showed me. And as I was able to rest in my weakness, I was allowing him to do what he does best, which is sustain me and provide for me. I read a quote from this book last episode, and I probably will over these next couple ones because it puts things into words really beautifully. It's called Love to Life. And this one says, your soul was never really parched for something, but for someone who will quench your thirst for all eternity. You're made for more than the things of this earth. You're made for the more of glory. And even at your worst, doesn't disqualify you from being made for glory. And this is a story that Jesus keeps whispering to you. The craving of your soul is lowered into the well of his bottomless love. The soul will never be fulfilled or fully well. And then it was like, because of the love we are looking for is found only in the inner chambers of love himself. And so, like, often our soul is searching and searching for things. It's searching to be made strong or to have it all together or looking for satisfaction of this world. But I just feel like in this, we're reminded that my soul is actually just really thirsty for Jesus. And Jesus is the one who can satisfy me, not 4 extra hours of sleep, whether that would have been nice, or a different relationship, or a different financial standing. Like, those things might be nice, but that's not what's filling my soul, because my soul thirsts for this living water that only Jesus can provide. And in my weakness, he's made known, because in my weakness, he can come and provide that living water and be the strength that I need. And so, it all of a sudden was okay to be weak, because Jesus was so evident. And then just on sort of on the topic of like him sustaining me, um, being there is Psalm 55, verse 22. And it's just like, cast your burdens on the Lord, and he will take care of you. He will not permit the godly to slip and fall. And I had to trust that. I had to begin to trust, and I still have to daily do that, is trust that he's not going to let me slip and fall to where he no longer can get me, because his arm can reach me wherever I am. And he really does want me to cast my burdens, and to cast is to throw. And so to throw my burdens onto him, like, he really does want that. And so that's just my encouragement for you, is when you feel tired and broken and weak, cast your burdens on the Lord, because he really does care for you, and he's going to be made known in that. Um, and then sort of to switch gears a little bit, this was something that I was learning at camp, that now has come back into like where I am in college, is to be easily interruptible. I think I love to have a schedule and a plan, and if something goes off of that, like, bothered, and I'm like, "Oh, I don't wanna do any of this anymore." But I had to just switch that at camp because things were constantly changing, or I had to stop to have a conversation with a student that wasn't, planned, and I just got to see the beauty in being interruptible, or the beauty of, like, slowing down and walking with a staffer back to where we stayed and having fruitful conversations. And then now at college, it's like what if I put room in my schedule to be interrupted, to stay in the dining hall for 30 more minutes to have a conversation with somebody that I ran into, or to walk to a friend's dorm at night just to talk to them, or get to sit with my roommate and have a longer conversation or go do something fun because I was willing to be interrupted. And I think a lot of times in those like more spontaneous things, is this just beauty or getting to like experience God or be able to be like the hands and feet of Jesus to somebody. But it's really hard to be the hands and feet of Jesus to somebody when our schedule is so tight that there's no room to love or breathe or rest. And so, um, that's just something I've been working on is like it's okay for my plans to change. It's okay to be interrupted. It's okay to slow down and have a conversation with somebody that you pass. Or like I on one of my days of exams, I went and got like coffee from our library cafe and I was like, okay, by this time I'm gonna leave and this time I'm gonna do this. And I had this like whole schedule of my day so I could get home for Christmas break sooner. And the lady just started talking to me that worked behind the counter. And I mean, I got my coffee from there probably twice a week, and she always took my order. And we never really had much of a conversation other than me telling her the same coffee. And all of a sudden, this day, me and her just started talking, and I got to share the gospel with her. And then she just kept telling me where she grew up and her religious background and all of these things. And since I had been praying that the Lord would allow me to be interruptible, like it's okay to get interrupted, He provided this opportunity for me to learn it and play it out. And it was really sweet. It was okay that I got home 45 minutes later than I had in my like schedule because the Lord allowed me the ability to like love this woman who, does so much for us at our school. Um and, like, that does sort of go for, like, what First Corinthians 13 talks about. It's like, "Love is patient, love is kind, love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable. It keeps no record of being wronged. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices in whatever the truth wins out. Love never gives up. Love never loses faith. It always is hopeful, endures through every circumstances. Love lasts forever." And so I think to be easily interruptible is like walking out in love, not in being like scattered, but in being patient and kind. Like I'm being willing to be patient in this moment to have a conversation with somebody. Um, and so that's just a big thing that I've been working on and that I thought I would share. And then the last thing that I'll wrap this episode up with, um, is to share some ways that the Lord has redeemed valleys in my life. I if you've heard some episodes probably on my testimony before, um, but I've walked through some different types of struggles mentally and just like in circumstances. And for a long time, there are certain things I'm like, Lord, like, what has this been for? Like, why did I walk through that? Or why did I struggle with that? And I just kind of had to stop asking why, and start asking the Lord what? Like, what can I use this for now? Like, I walked through this, or this is something I struggled with. Now show me how I can use this well. And I just felt like the Lord redeemed a lot of my valleys this summer in getting to love on the age group that I so desperately was searching for. And I think when I was a teen or like in middle school and like early high school, I really needed someone like that. And I needed to hear that I wasn't alone in a lot of things that I was walking through, and that the Lord cared about me and saw me. And so it was just very redemptive of the Lord to let me share some of those stories with these like young girls that are also walking through it now and getting to be like, hey, like I walked through something really similar and this is what the Lord taught me and the Lord is still holding me fast and I still get to abide in him as his daughter. And so it was really sweet and it kind of gave purpose to a lot of the pain and it's sort of given me a different outlook on um, the things that I like walk through now, because I know that He's going to redeem them in His perfect timing, whether it's on this side of eternity or on the other side. I can trust that He's going to redeem it. And I guess maybe my encouragement is just like to let the Lord redeem things and let the Lord use the hard valleys in your life. Because it's going to point people back to Jesus. And in the valleys were the times that I was the weakest. And in that weak place, the Lord was able to redeem it and love me right through it. And so hopefully that's encouraging to you. Maybe you're in a valley right now and it feels like there's no point, or it just seems confusing. Like, just to trust the Lord that He can redeem this in His perfect timing, in His perfect plan, um, because He does care for us. And like, He's rich in kindness, and His grace was poured out for us on the cross. Um, like, there's freedom in the blood of Jesus. And so He can redeem things that seem unredeemable, or mistakes that we've made that we're filled with shame about. The Lord offers them to be redeemed because of His good grace. And so um, hopefully you can take something from here. Um, and just be reminded that it's okay to be weak, because in our weakness the Lord is made known. And as believers, our whole point is for His name to be glorified. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you can take something away from it, that the Lord is glorified even in this. But thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week. Bye.